I'd like to talk real quick on an interesting rifle setup for the AR that might be beneficial for you guys to take from as far as setting up your guns. Now, a lot of people set up their ARs to either mirror the Israeli setup or the American setup, but I haven't seen a whole lot of ARs out there set up like the Canadian AR-15s. The C7s, the A1s, the A2s. The Canadian military uses the AR-15 design, but they have some key features that they have on their rifles that I think is pretty noteworthy, and I think it's really smart to set up the AR in the way that they set up their service rifles. Now, my A2 right here is definitely not a clone of any of the C7s, the A1s, the A2s, none of that, but it's heavily inspired right now as it's set up by the C7 designed. All the C7 is, it's a basic AR. You've got the OD green, and I believe the Canadian green is a slightly different shade, but I'm just going with OD green because that's what I have. You got the OD green setup. On the C7A2, you've got an adjustable stock on the rear. I'm just sticking with the A2 stock just because that's what I like. On the older C7s, you have an A1 style rear sight. And then on the newer C7s, you have a flat top. I'm just sticking with my A2 sight, my front and rear sights. So I'm not really changing that. The vertical forward grip, I changed to a Tango down. I really like that. It really feels the hand. It's really comfortable. I like it a little bit better than the Knights Armament broomstick. So I'll go more into why I chose the vertical grip, this Tango down here in a second. The main thing that I like about the C7s is the fact that they have what's called the Triad rail. And it's a rail that's on the front of their rifle. All their C7s, they basically have the A2 style handguards. Then they have a rail, a smaller section of a rail for a forward grip. Sometimes it's a folding forward grip, or there might be a little bit of variations, but basically it's like this setup right here, close to the setup in any case. On the front of their rifle, they have three rails. At the 9 o'clock, the 3 o'clock, and the 6 o'clock. Now, this is made by Famous Maker, and this is a real inexpensive three-rail setup. Their setup mounts right in here within the A-frame right here, and the rails come back a little bit over the handguards. That's their setup. I just went with an inexpensive setup right here. It still does the same thing. But their mindset behind this Triad, what they call the Triad rail setup, is without having to spend money on a full rail for the rifle, you can still mount visible lasers, infrared, lights, whatever you need to do, mission essential equipment on that Triad system without having to add a full rail setup. Now, because of that Triad system, I changed the vertical grip. Not only is it more comfortable, but it has a provision for a pressure switch. So if I did want to mount a light, I could run a pressure switch back. I don't have to worry about moving my hand way far forward to activate that light. I could just use a pressure switch if I want. And my rail here is a little bit bigger than I've seen on some of the C7s. So that way if I wanted to adjust my vertical grip, I got a little bit more real estate to do so. That's just my reasoning behind it, my preference. One advantage of having a rail out forward like this is if you mount a light, you're not going to get barrel shadow. On my A4 setup, there's a little bit of shadow from the barrel off the light because it's mounted further back, right about here, versus up here. If I got a light up here, there's going to be less shadow, virtually no shadow, and that is kind of a plus in my opinion. And as long as you don't put a whole lot of heavy stuff on the front end of that gun, you're not really going to change how that gun handles. This is a heavy barrel setup. The Canadian C7, of course, is a government profile setup, so it's going to be a little bit lighter. And because of the heavier barrel, I decided to stick with the A2 style stock. The C7A2s have an adjustable stock that's really nice, and the rear stock is more of a commando style like this. They got an additional butt plate on there, but it is adjustable. And I like that idea. It's nice being able to shorten the rifle down, but if I did that on this rifle, with the heavy barrel profile, I think it would just unbalance the rifle a little bit, and I'd end up with a big front heavy rifle with no weight in the back, and I just wouldn't like that. I like the The setup as it is now, it's still perfectly balanced in my opinion for me, and I don't have to worry about it. If I had a lighter barrel profile up front, then I can get away with that, I believe, throwing an adjustable stock on the rear. Another thing, threw a 30 round thermold in there because thermold, that design, the Canadian military does use, so just for looks, you can throw any magazine in there. The sights I kept the same, fiber optic front sight for the high visibility, and then of course my A2 rears. Even though the C7s, you normally run the A1s, the A1 style rear sight. If you got an older C7, the newer ones are the flat tops, so that way they can run their combat optics. So that's kind of the biggest difference. But in essence, this rifle is pretty much inspired by the C7, and I really like it. I think the Canadians, you know, they know what to do as far as outfitting a full-size AR-15 with the stuff that's needed, mission essential, with leaving the stuff that's not needed out. I think they do a good job in that. So think about it if you're looking to outfit your AR-15 and you just don't know whether you want to outfit it, you know, to mirror an American design or Israeli or law enforcement or whatnot. Look at the Canadians and see how they run their AR-15s, and it gives you a little bit of a better list of options to choose from. So again, I like their mindset behind their rifles. Kind of a one rifle can do anything type deal without breaking the budget. So anyway, there it is, my rifle, kind of modeled after a C7-ish. So feel free to share how you have your AR-15s, what inspired your AR-15s. It doesn't matter where it was inspired from. Israel, Europe, Middle East, South America, US, Canada, it doesn't matter. Go ahead and share what you were inspired by when you built your AR-15. Everybody usually has an idea of what they want to do when they get an AR-15. So go ahead and share what you did, and that way people can get ideas from many different people, especially now. There's an AR-15 buying craze, so with that, a lot of new people out there own an AR-15, and they may be wanting to know a good way to outfit it. So anyway, thanks a lot for watching. That's enough talking out of me. Stay safe.